The lowly, ubiquitous 120 volt 15 amp outlet. They're literally everywhere. There are far more of them than there are gas pumps. Heck, most gas stations probably have more of them than gas pumps. But can they really be used to charge a car? Welcome back to E-Hermes, your electric adventure travel channel. Please remember to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit that bell button to be notified of our upcoming content. Just about every electric vehicle comes with a mobile connector, except new Teslas, that can be used to charge the vehicle. At home, I bought a second Tesla mobile connector. One always stays with me in the car, and that is what I use to charge every night. Admittedly, that is normally plugged into a NEMA 1450 outlet, which is 50 amps at 240 volts, which produces about 7 to 8 kilowatts. But Mrs. E-Hermes does not have such an outlet in Florida. All she has is a 15 amp, 120 volt outlet, which produces about 1 kilowatt. Let's think about this for a little bit. The Tesla has about a 72 kilowatt hour battery. If it were empty and I wanted it full, it would take 72 hours, 3 full days, to fill from a 1 kilowatt source. That sounds less than ideal. But whoever runs their car down to empty around the house? And who needs it full to 100%? In fact, that is detrimental to the battery. Most people only need what they can use in a typical day. Of course, you will want some buffer for odd cases. According to the U.S. Department of Transportation, the average driver drives just under 40 miles per day. If you're the average driver and drive that or less, a 15 amp outlet is all you really need. To drive a Tesla Model Y long-range all-wheel drive, you would use about 9.6 kilowatts per day to drive 40 miles. Assuming you go to work, come back home, maybe stopping at the daycare to pick up the kids or at the grocery store, your car is probably home about 12 hours. At a 15 amp outlet, you would get 12 kilowatts over those 12 hours, more than the 9.6 you use to drive 40 miles. If you go on a longer trip, you might need to use a level 2 destination charger or a DC fast charger. As you will see in the video linked above, I drove the Tesla Model Y over 40,000 miles in just 1 year, plus I have other vehicles. I actually drive about 50 to 60,000 miles a year, so it would seem that a 15 amp 120 volt outlet would be woefully inadequate for me. In fact, while it would be somewhat inconvenient, it would be usable. To prove this point, I performed the following experiment last time I had the Tesla Model Y at Mrs. E-Hermes' house in Florida. I spent 29 days in Florida on that trip and drove 1,730 miles, or almost 60 miles per day. I arrived with 72 miles of range and left with 306 miles of range. So not only did I cover my daily driving, I actually put more electricity into the vehicle than I arrived with. How did I achieve this magic with only a 15 amp outlet at the house? There are a couple of answers. First, I follow the rules of PIF, that's plug in first, and ABC, always be charging. As soon as I backed the car into the garage, I plugged in. Before I put the groceries away, before I ran upstairs to go to the bathroom, before I did anything else, I always plug in. And that is how the car stayed until it was time to leave again, plugged in. Always charging. It sounds like something I had to work at, but really it just becomes second nature. The third leg of my three-legged charging stool was a level 2 charger where I left the car for a few hours 2 or 3 times during the trip. This is the part that requires some extra effort. The nearest level 2 charger is about 5 miles away, and I did not want to sit in a parking lot for hours on end. So I put a folding e-bike into the back of the car, drove to the charger, rode the e-bike back home, then, later in the evening, rode back to the car, unplugged, loaded the bike back into the car, and drove back to the house. I ride bicycles for fun, so this was no burden for me, but I could see how it could be considered an inconvenience. By using that level 2 charger the day before I left, charging all night and into the day before I left with a 100% full battery. If you have an electric vehicle and generally drive the average 40 miles a day or less, a 15 amp outlet is all you need, particularly if you have a level 2 charger or DC fast charger nearby for special occasion. Much over that, and you will want at least a 30 amp and preferably a 50 amp 240 volt outlet at home to charge with. We are about to take delivery of a Ford F-150 Lightning, which has the same range as our Tesla Model Y, 320 miles. However, to achieve that range, it has a battery almost twice as large as the Model Y. Therefore, using the same power source and mobile connector, it would take almost twice as long to charge as the Model Y. If you are getting a larger, less efficient vehicle like that, I think even a low daily driver would want to get a 240 volt outlet to charge with at home. For this reason, but mostly so that we can take advantage of the Ford F-150's intelligent backup power, we will be adding a 100 amp 240 volt outlet to Mrs. E-Hermes' house in Florida. My final observation is this: if you keep a mobile connector with you in the vehicle and get yourself into a jam, all you need to do is find a regular outlet. Maybe on the outside of a building, maybe at a park, whatever, and you will be able to add fuel to your vehicle. Sure, it will be painfully slow, but it can allow you to avoid the disaster of a completely dead battery. Of course, always ask permission first if possible, and make sure you plug back in anything you unplug to use the outlet. We hope you have enjoyed this video of our experience of going a month with only a 15 amp 120 volt outlet. If you did, please hit that like button, and we certainly hope that you will consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you.